The S&P 500 continues to make its great escape out of the year-long down trend line, and Bitcoin follows, showing that there may be continuation signals for further upside. Are the markets ready to erupt, or could this be a false alarm? That is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. If this is the type of content that you want to see in the future, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. The number one most important thing for Bitcoin's trend right now is the performance of the stock market. It's going to determine everything. The S&P 500 on the daily has now spent its second day discovering prices above the downtrend line. This is huge, and unless you're in complete denial, this does tell us that there may be a bullish shift, a bullish macro shift taking place in the stock market. Looking at the daily chart once again, the RSI downtrend line has now been broken, and we discussed this in the last video. We said, guys, this is a huge moment because we are now testing the RSI downtrend line at the downward sloping resistance. We made a very key note in the last video that breaking this RSI downtrend could lead the S&P 500 up to about 4,500. To see why we set a target of 4,500 for the S&P, the link is going to be above. Now, if we want to get more specific about where the S&P is headed, we can also look at our fib extension targets. And the target that we set based on the previous RSI breakouts lands us at 4,500. Now, there is a fib extension level that is coinciding with that target, and that is the 786 fib extension at 4,531. And that is what I'm eyeing up right now. And this is going to affect Bitcoin's price heavily in a very positive way if that target is reached. Just like we talked about in yesterday's video, every time the S&P breaks the RSI downtrend line, Bitcoin goes up by 30%, which means that if the S&P 500 does run to about 4,500, then we may see Bitcoin at 30,000. That is the target right now. For the immediate short term on Bitcoin, this is very interesting. We have signals, continuation signals showing up on the chart. This is the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin. And if you look at this chart closely, you can see that the EMAs on the 4-hour, the last time they went flat is when the pump happened. Right now, the EMAs have gone flat. But those EMAs flattening out have to be accompanied by two other things for us to see another pump. And that is the RSI breakout level. Last time the RSI broke above the downtrend line on the 4-hour chart, the pump occurred. And right now the RSI is nearing that breakout level. It's actually starting to break out as I'm making this video. On top of that, the MACD on the 4-hour, the last time it crossed up, the pump occurred. And all of these things line up, right? The EMA is going flat, the RSI breaking out, the MACD crossing up, all of those things lined up in the last pump. And that is what we have to see now. And it's looking very likely that we're about to confirm those continuation signals and get the next leg up. In the beginning of the video, in that cinematic intro, we talked about, are the markets going to erupt or is this a false alarm? Well, to me, in the short term, we're about to confirm continuation signals. So it's more likely that in the short term, we're going to go up. If the stock market is bullish, if the stock market is pointed up, this gives speculators confidence to speculate on Bitcoin. This is how it works. And right now we're getting a macro trend pivot, not a Fed pivot, a macro trend pivot for the S&P, right? We're breaking out of the year-long downtrend line. This is going to renew the sentiment in the market. People are going to get more bullish. People are going to feel more comfortable, more confident to speculate on high-risk assets such as Bitcoin. When the S&P is in a downtrend, hitting a downtrend line, it's a lot more difficult to get speculators to be confident to speculate on Bitcoin. But when you see that we're breaking the downtrend, that's when things start to change. So I do think it's more likely that the markets erupt to the upside as long as the S&P is breaking out and pointed upward. If the S&P decides to not continue this breakout, if we fall back below the downtrend line and it's a false breakout, well, then it's going to be looking more like a meltdown instead of an eruption, just to put it into more descriptive words. But for now, the S&P is pointed up, and we're still not in overbought territory on the daily RSI. So I think that we do have more upside to go. And again, 4,500 is my target for the S&P. And every time the S&P breaks the RSI downtrend line, Bitcoin goes up 30%, which would land us at $30,000 Bitcoin. You know, a lot of people out there don't look at the stock market, which is why they get it wrong for Bitcoin. There's a lot of people that have tunnel vision. They only look at Bitcoin. And so they start setting targets based on just Bitcoin's previous price levels and previous action. But it's really more up to the stock market than it is up to just looking at Bitcoin's chart. On this channel, we're trying to be informed traders and investors. And to be an informed trader and investor, you gotta look at the stock market. Otherwise, you're blind. You might as well just put a blindfold on, guys. And in one of my previous videos, we talked about Bitcoin entering a parabola. At the time, everyone called me crazy. They said, Kev, how can you say that? Well, if Bitcoin makes another leg up right now, it's going to make the parabola very visible. And that's where the FOMO truly would start to kick in. Because right now it's still not necessarily clear, but if you have the vision and if you've seen this in the market before, you can kind of see it coming, right? If Bitcoin has another leg up, this is where I think FOMO will really start to kick in, which also means it's time to be a little bit cautious, right? If Bitcoin punches up above 24,000 and things start getting really bullish really fast, you know, maybe we do hit 30K, the target that I talked about. But it's also the time to be a little bit more cautious. Things might run up faster, but that's usually the point where there could be some resistance. There could be some rejection zones up above 25K towards 30K. And that's where you want to be, you know, willing to wait a little bit. Maybe the market slows down up at those higher 20K levels. And that's when we might see a shorter term correction. So always use caution, and if and when we get to those levels, we'll reanalyze the chart, reanalyze the market to see what potential moves could take place next. And if you guys want to see that, you got to subscribe to this video. You got to subscribe to this channel and hit the like button. And also, before you go, there's only a few days left for those of you that haven't taken my BitGet offer. Deposit $200, get $20 free. It is only available for the subscribers of this channel. So definitely take the offer while it's still there. It's a limited offer. I'll see you guys in the next video.